This was the best week of football we have seen all year. Great games everywhere, phenomenal storylines, but most importantly, an unlikely hero emerged. All hope was lost in Minnesota. Kirk Cousins, gone for the year, no more Achilles. He's no Aaron Rodgers, he ain't coming back. Jaron Hall, Hall of Fame, concussed 2 drives into his promising young career. Who was left, you may ask? Well, the plucky young fella, the aerospace engineer, the genius. I was going to call him a boy genius, but I think he's like 27. Joshua Dobbs, traded for on Wednesday. Just got the playbook. He was changing out of his Halloween costume on the flight up from Arizona to Minnesota. Finally in a good situation. Knew nobody's names. Came in and dominated. 200 yards, 3 touchdowns against a sneaky good Falcons defense. A good unit. And he cooked them. No experience with the KOC system. All the elite weapons were out. Well, most of the elite weapons were out. And he still produced. And I was down on the season after Kirk got hurt. I was not optimistic at all. But with Josh Dobbs, I am confident once again. He's not as good as Kirk maybe, but he does something that Kirk never could. He scrambles like a top-tier quarterback. You saw some of those plays.
I saw it with my own two eyes.
With your own 2 eyes. What other quarterbacks are doing that besides Mahomes, Lamar, those type of guys? Josh Allen's not that quick. Jalen Hurts is not that quick. It's just him and those two. He is an elite scrambler. He can put the ball where he needs to, and he is clutch. The Vikings season is not over. They are above 500 9 weeks into the season after starting 0-3. They're back. Josh Dobbs is back, and I expect more elite play from him. The Vikings are a wildcard team, and frankly, if they stay on, if they get Jefferson back, if they get Christian Darrisaw, one of the best tackles in football, back, they win the division. Detroit is not going to play this team twice down the stretch. Things are looking great in Minnesota.
I mean, I thought last year Baker Mayfield heading to the Rams was impressive, leading that game-winning drive and winning a game. But when Baker Mayfield was on the Rams last season, he got a couple of practices in before he started for them. And Josh Dobbs, apparently all reports are indicating he did not take 1 snap under center, did not play in practice at all with that offensive line, was practicing the cadences on the sideline. Jordan Addison, the receivers, TJ Hawkinson, they had to tell them what routes they were running on specific plays because he didn't know what the plays were. That is one of the most impressive things I think we've seen a quarterback done, and I know it's against Arthur Smith, but regardless...
No, don't against Arthur Smith. The Falcons had the top 6 defense in the NFL going into this week. It's not a coaching thing at that point. Arthur Smith's in charge of the offense.
Arthur Smith is not a good coach, so...
He certainly isn't, but he doesn't stop that defense from being good.
Either way, one of the most impressive things I think anyone has ever seen a player do on such short notice. And when you take a look at Josh Dobbs' career, he was drafted by the Steelers in 2018. I think had around 12 pass attempts. In 2020, he had a few more pass attempts, no real chance to get in game action. At some point, Mason Rudolph took the backup job from him because the Steelers used high draft capital on him, probably, and Dobbs is also only a 4th round pick. Then in 2021, I believe he was aerospace engineering internship with NASA. Then he gets an opportunity with the Titans on a very rough Titans roster. Wins the first game, I think, and only loses the second game because of a weird fumble 6 that was returned for a touchdown with the Jaguars. Titans, not exactly the best offense. This year, he's on the Cardinals. Not a good supporting cast.
Worst supporting cast in football. We can go ahead and say it.
One of the worst rosters in football in general from top to bottom. They're looking to build towards the future. And over that time span, he has 250 rushing yards, 8 games? 250 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. I think had 9 passing touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Was doing solid work on a bad Cardinals team. And now he's on the Vikings.
Beat the Cowboys, by the way.
Also beat the Cowboys and should have beat the Giants if it was not for the Cardinals' second half collapse on defense. So he was doing things in that Cardinals offense, and now he reaches the Vikings, who I know I've spoken negatively about them all season long. Part of that is just because I like to get under Isaiah's skin.
There's no other part of it. The Vikings are a really good team.
But they've been building, and their offense has pieces. When you lose Justin Jefferson, you lose Christian Darrisaw, and you lose your starting quarterback, and during the game, KJ Osborne went down. And then you have Jordan Addison, you still have TJ Hawkinson to throw to, and they also just lost Cam Akers to a torn Achilles.
I'm aware. You don't have to look at me like that.
But then they were still getting things done, and they still have a ton of weapons. So when Justin Jefferson gets back, with the threat that Josh Dobbs adds on the ground, with how intelligent he is, with how smart of a coach Kevin O'Connell is, He had me wanting to buy a Josh Dobbs jersey this past weekend.
You wanted to buy a Josh Dobbs
A Josh Dobbs Vikings jersey.
Bandwagon till the end. Hopping on the
It was one of the most
Dobbs
electric
Express.
things I've ever seen in the NFL.
Well, you're going to make me pump the brakes on that. You've only watched...
Now they're going to lose because I said all that.
You've watched Daniel Jones and Tommy DeVito play quarterback for you the past 2 weeks, so the bar is not high. But I'm very excited. Josh Dobbs, savior. NFC Championship game, here we come. Embarrassing playoff loss to the Eagles, here we come.
Have they played the Lions yet?
No, they play them twice down the stretch.
If they're able to beat, they could still win the division at this point with how many games they've ripped off in a row.
13-4, here we come. Watch out, MCDC. On to another quarterback playing, some would say, elite football. And I'm not going to take this game away from CJ Stroud or his rookie season. People are talking about giving CJ a nickname because he's that good. 470 yards. Some would say already a top 10 quarterback. I decided to call CJ Stroud the broken clock. Not because of anything he has done, but the Ohio State teams occasionally do apparently produce good quarterbacks. The broken clock, right twice a day. Still waiting for that second time it's right, but the first time is CJ Stroud. But to pump the brakes on a little bit, I'm going to read you a list of names, Tristan. You tell me if you recognize any of these guys. Mark Bulger. Mark with a C and no K at the end, by the way.
I recognize the name. I can't say exactly
Aaron Banks.
There's not Bulger?
It might be Bulger. Not particularly good handwriting. Aaron Banks. Jeff Orsia. Excuse me. Yeah, that is Orsia. Man, he has a weird name. And finally, Kellen Moore. Do you know what CJ Stroud has in common with those guys?
I don't know.
They're the 5 rookies with the most passing yards in a single game. As a rookie, of course. So, not elite company.
Andrew Luck had the record, so...
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
I looked this up for the video.
I think you're wrong, but...
You want to talk to Stat Muse about this?
How many passing yards do they have?
The lowest one on there was 435.
Is that modern era, or...?
Yeah, that's right. What do you mean modern era? All those happened...
This feels like a...
You think they threw for more than 400 yards
like
in a game
propaganda.
during the 1960s before
like
they invented the forward pass?
I think so.
You don't know ball. Luck did not have the record. He may have had the total yardage record. He did not have the record for passing yards. But CJ, good on you, mate. Fine quarterback. Clearly in a better system than any other rookie quarterback right now. I don't think it's debatable anymore. The Texans have good coaching. Like you saw that little end-around triple option play where CJ Stroud got the ball back in open space. That is a play which is phenomenally well executed and designed. Texans have good coaching. They've got a good offensive line. Tank Dell, Nico Collins, great supporting cast. Good for the Texans. They're going to win the division now. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for CJ.
The Ohio State quarterback narrative robbed him of being the first overall pick. We should have just seen what was right in front of our faces the entire time. In college, we saw that he could throw. He was very accurate. We saw that he could throw and read a defense. We saw he could do all of those things.
We saw him get bullied by Michigan twice.
He threw 40-something touchdowns, 6 interceptions, back-to-back years. In the college football playoff, almost beats Georgia, which rolled TCU, who also beat Michigan. And the major questions we had heading into that game against Georgia was we didn't know if he could improvise. We didn't know if he could do it with his legs. He did it with his legs in that game. He's a big athletic quarterback, and that isn't necessarily something that happened in this game because he threw for 470 yards and 5 touchdowns, but that's what we saw in college. We knew he could survey the defense. We knew he could improvise. That's part of the reason why Bryce Young got drafted over him. We should have known all along. The Ohio State quarterback narrative ruined him between Justin Fields not exactly looking great as a passer, all of the other Ohio State quarterbacks not looking great as a passer. That ruined his draft stock, and he should have been the number 1 overall pick all along because he is phenomenal. I don't remember a rookie quarterback better than him. He's done every good game he's had this season is better than any game Trevor Lawrence has had so far in his career. I'll go ahead and say that.
Okay. You act like I'm some big Trevor Lawrence. Like I'm clutching my throat. How dare you say that about Trevor Lawrence?
No, he's one of the... My point being, he is the best young quarterback in recent memory.
Well, you got real short-term memory.
Besides... Unless we're going, well, at this point, Patrick Mahomes doesn't even...
He doesn't count as a young quarterback
He
anymore.
doesn't count as young anime.
Him, Allen, Burrow, no longer young. Lamar, not young.
They're on their second contracts.
Is that the qualifier?
Yeah, we're talking... Yeah.
I've been around long enough to remember a young fella by the name of Cameron Newton as a rookie. He was pretty all right, but I digress.
That was a decade ago.
If it's in my memory, it's recent memory. Young will be fine. The Texans will be a good team. Again, I got nothing really more to say. I called him Mid-J instead of Bum-J. If I called him Bum-J, I'd be more upset, but Mid-J implied at least mediocrity.
Okay. Just a whole lot of seething and coping over there.
Again, I don't care. He didn't beat Michigan. Of all the Ohio State quarterbacks, CJ Stroud is the one I like the most. He got embarrassed by Michigan twice, got his heart ripped out in the playoffs. That's the type of stuff I like. He didn't get paid money illegally. He came around the times of the NIL. He wasn't on some contract that the rest of the college football players didn't get access to. I'm cool with CJ. If CJ beat Michigan, things would be different, but here we are, a product of our times. Thank you, Urban Meyer. Thank you, NIL, and thank you especially, Ryan Day. On to a very competitive football game between the Cowboys and the Eagles, and Philadelphia wins at home. I called it. What a surprise. Dak Prescott, good numbers, fantasy numbers at least, could not quite execute in the clutch. We've seen that song and dance before, and this didn't really tell me anything I didn't already know. We know the Eagles still have a good defense. We know the Cowboys have a good defense which can be gouged, as it was by the Eagles. And we know the officials are inclined to side with Philadelphia at times. Not in the Super Bowl, of course, but they get a little benefit of the doubt, particularly since the brother of their starting center is dating Taylor Swift. They get a little bit of that Taylor Swift referee bias.
They get some of that magic?
Some of that little T-Swift magic, yes. Good storylines up in Philadelphia. But Eagles are the best team in the NFC. Anyone who was debating that going into this game was delusional. Even if they managed to drop the rematch to the Cowboys in Jerry World later in the year, I don't see them losing the division. They're winning 13, 14 games. They get the first round bye, and the tush push should be banned, but only after the Eagles win one Super Bowl. That is the concession I'm willing to make. They win a Super Bowl, then they ban it.
Well, I'm not going to get into a tush push discussion with you right now, but I don't think we really...
You don't want to get in a tush-push discussion?
No, I don't. I don't think we really learned anything particularly about the Eagles. I mean, we know they have one of the most talented rosters in the NFC, in the NFL in general. So they have the ability to get it done. I do think it was a really good sign with the Cowboys because they got absolutely rolled by the 49ers. And in every game this season where they didn't get out to a big lead and their defense didn't make plays early, they fell behind and they lost the game. And they did jump out to a lead this game, but even losing in the second half, Dak Prescott kept making plays. They stayed aggressive. They were going for it on fourth down. CeeDee Lamb was balling out. Jake Ferguson was balling out. Dak played really well. It's one of the best games I think I've seen Dak Prescott play. So on that side of things, great game for the Cowboys. But I'll reiterate what I said in my predictions and why I'm still concerned about them. And it's not my prediction, sorry, the video I made about them. I am not at all confident. I don't think they have enough weapons to beat the Eagles or beat the 49ers and certainly beat anyone who comes out of the AFC. I mean, you have CeeDee Lamb, you have Jake Ferguson, but after that, Michael Gallup, he is not good. Brandon Cooks has been involved in the offense. They don't have a solid rotational running back to work in there with Tony Pollard. So when it comes down to it and beating some of these other hyper-talented teams, they just don't have enough talent, I feel like.
Be very cool if the Vikings got to play them at some point this year. I'm looking forward to that playoff matchup where we just beat them over the head with our talent.
The Vikings, with a healthy Justin Jefferson, are way more talented than the Cowboys. Well, it's not even close.
Offensively, at least.
On offense, on defense.
Micah Parsons is also doing the thing he normally does and kind of slowing down as the season goes on. Red Heart start followed by some mediocre play.
Yeah, he certainly hasn't been as good. And like I said, I think it's a great sign. I think it even established the Cowboys as a clear-cut top 3 team in the NFC. I know the NFC is not that deep regardless, and I think they proved they can definitely beat the Eagles at home, but by losing this game, I think they forfeited any opportunity to play the Cowboys at home in the playoffs. Maybe they have a chance at playing the 49ers at home in the playoffs if the 49ers keep losing or lose a couple more games with some of the tough games they still have left on their schedule.
I mean, the 49ers can beat the Cowboys in Jerry World, though. We've seen that before.
We have seen it, but it gives Cowboys fans confidence, but I also think we still see some of those glaring issues and the Jerry Jones problem of we like our guys, we're sticking with our guys constantly.
Them and Detroit are struggling for that number 3 spot unless the 49ers just continue to collapse, which I don't think will happen after a bye. But no one expects the 3rd best team in the conference to win the Super Bowl. And that is the expectation Cowboys fans have, at least this year. I say every year. It's only the diehard idiots who think they're going to win every year. But they were supposed to be competitive this year. I think we're kind of slowly working away from that. Speaking of competitive, the Seattle Seahawks mollywopped, stomped, embarrassed by the Baltimore Ravens. And formerly the top team in the NFC West, scored 3 points, gave up 37. What do you expect? We know the Baltimore Ravens are the best team in football. We know the AFC is better than the NFC. And well, the only team who could really rival the Ravens is the Eagles. And we know Lamar Jackson, when he is healthy and when he actually has his weapons not fumbling, shout out Odell Beckham, he can put up some numbers. Even if that fantasy and statistical impact is not there per se, he was leading drives. He was executing plays. He was a threat the Seahawks defense had to worry about constantly. Leonard Williams' acquisition did nothing. Defensively, all these weapons, all these free agents, all these draft picks, still nothing. You can't stop Lamar. I don't think anyone can really stop Lamar at this point.
Well, we've been saying this since Lamar's been drafted, well, certainly since his MVP season. When the Ravens have things going, they are the most unbeatable team in the NFL by a wide margin, even better than the Chiefs when the Chiefs have things rolling offensively. The Ravens defense has been phenomenal. The Seahawks, I think, have been very disappointing, especially given the fact that they added some offensive pieces during the offseason. We kind of expected them to take the next step. That hasn't happened. But when you're Lamar Jackson and the Ravens and you get out to a lead early and you have Gus Edwards running the ball effectively, Keaton Mitchell, the rookie, had a great game. Mark Andrews was doing his thing. Zay Flowers was catching the ball. So when the Ravens have things going and they get out to a lead early, the Seahawks aren't coming back. Geno Smith kind of has taken a step back as much as I love him.
No, it's not Geno Smith. Their offensive line is terrible now. Like, they've had some injuries, and they weren't particularly good last year. He's getting cooked in the pocket, and Geno Smith is not mobile. I'm not putting this on him. He is playing fine. The pressure rate he's been seeing drastically increased from last year to this year.
I don't think he's been quite as good as he was last year, though. He's not making some of the throws. He's making some stupid mistakes, some not so great interceptions.
I'm inclined to pin it more on the line than Geno. Geno, kind of a talent merchant. That's a new term we're going to start coining.
Talent merchant.
Geno Smith is Brock Purdy without the offensive line.
Oh, really?
I don't know who that's more insulting to.
49ers, well, it depends on the 49ers fan you ask.
You can ask many 49ers fans. I was seeing some passionate debates in the comment sections of recent videos. And as a matter of fact, I saw a 49ers fan go and comment on a video about basketball, which I made somewhat recently.
Yeah.
Talking about how are you going to disrespect the 49ers but praise the Vikings so much. Like, just two completely random subjects under a Victor Wembanyama take. What are we doing here?
I don't know.
What happened to shame?
The people from the West Coast, they're a different breed of people.
You don't like the scooped bagel folk?
No, Scoop they upset me. They make me
you.
very angry.
You East Coast right-leaning political folks, and you hate the Californians.
Okay.
Speaking of people who scoop their bagels, the Chicago Bears are facing off against the Carolina Panthers on Thursday Night Football. And this is the crown jewel right here. This is the worst game of football we will witness on Thursday night all year. We've had some stinkers, sure. The NFL is screwing Amazon Prime on a routine basis. But this is the worst one. This is a race for the first overall pick, except one team has both draft picks. I would be amazed if the Bears rose up and came out of this game. This is a win for the Carolina Panthers, but it doesn't matter. Like, neither of these teams are at a point in the season they stand a chance. The dream is over. Fields is gone. Bryce Young's entire supporting cast is not NFL ready. As a rookie quarterback, he is more ready than NFL ready than everyone around him besides maybe old man Adam Thielen. Both these coaches are going to be fired. Both these rosters are going to be overthrown. Both these owners should really sell the team, particularly Tepper. And we have to watch it. This is a primetime game. I will go watch a JV football game before I watch this. There will be no reaction to it. There will be no takes. There will be no preposterous slander of one team or the other. There will be only indifference from the Thicc Inc. brand about this particular game between Bryce Young and either Bajan Zero or Bustin Fields. We don't care. We're talking about it now on a podcast which will get 200 views, so we don't have to talk about it later.
Well,
that's probably going to be the clip, isn't it?
Well, as a Giants fan, I will be rooting for the Panthers to win. because the Panthers currently have 1 win and the Bears have 2 wins. So even though the Bears have both of those picks of both those teams, it gives the Giants a slightly better chance at securing the number 1 or number 2 overall pick, considering the fact that they have Danny DeVito starting at quarterback.
Oh, you little scumbag. I made that joke. I made that joke prior to us starting this recording session. Oh, you know his name's actually Tommy DeVito, right? Yeah, Tristan, I'm going to call him Danny DeVito because he's playing real small. You think you're so clever. Like, I'm not going to call you out to the 5 people still listening to this. Screw you, man. Talk about that bum quarterback and his bum knee now.
Anyway, I think the Panthers, they're going to win that one.
I said talk about the bum.
Anyway, Daniel Jones tore his ACL. You never like to see a player tear his ACL. You don't like to see any player have to deal with an injury. But when it comes to Daniel Jones, there's always a constant discussion from his most, what would you say?
Cultish followers.
His most cultish followers. They always talk about, if you give him the opportunity, if you, behind a good offensive line, if you give him the weapons, he'll succeed. Sure, let's just say we grant those people that for the sake of this discussion. Let's just give him that one. I don't agree with any of it, but I'll give it to you. He's been hurt every single year of his career. Neck injury, concussion. He's missed a game every single season he's been a starter. So at a certain point, we love to talk about Lamar Jackson's health. Does he deserve the money because there's the injuries he has to deal with? Daniel Jones threw 15 touchdown passes last season and got a $40 million contract.
Which you liked at the time, by the way.
I didn't like, I just understood how it happened. And the only reason he got paid the way he did is because of what he does with his legs. He had 750 rushing yards last year. I think around somewhere 7 rushing touchdowns, something like that. That is the only reason anyone could ever make the argument of him being worth the type of money that he was paid. But he's always injured, whether it be the neck injury he gets, whether it be ACL tear that he just got. And I saw people throw out there on Twitter that, they shouldn't have even thrown Daniel Jones out there. They were setting him up for failure. Brian Daboll needs to get fired because he put Daniel Jones out there just to get hurt. What are you talking about? It was a non-contact injury where he planted off his back foot and tore his ACL. There had nothing to do with the poor offensive line play, had nothing to do with getting hit and tackled and sacked. There was no contact that happened on that play. That could have happened in practice preparing for the game. A knee injury is not connected to a neck injury, and I'm only saying that because I've seen some people throw that out there. And when it comes to people that are now hating on Brian Daboll because of how this season has fallen apart, what are you talking about? Last year, they overachieved. Everyone thought they'd win 4 or 5 games. They wound up making it to the playoffs. They won a playoff game with Brian Daboll. There's a reason he got Coach of the Year. People are calling it a fraud, but now when you look at this season, the best offensive lineman they have hasn't played all year long. There's been injuries everywhere. Their backup quarterbacks got hurt. Daniel Jones has missed games. Their second-round center got injured, has been out for games. The receiver core's a mess. Saquon Barkley missed games. Everyone on the offense has been injured, and it's been a horrible scenario. Of course they're going to lose. So I was all over the place, but I don't even know what to say anymore.
Well, it was kind of a fraudulent Coach of the Year trophy. No, I'm serious. Listen to me on this one. You look at what Kyle Shanahan did with the last pick in the draft, got him to the NFC Championship game, won 7 straight in the regular season. And then you look at Brian Daboll gadgeting his way to a scoop, gadgeting his way to
That's certainly a nickname.
Oh, man. Derailed the train of thought. I don't even know what I want to say off that anymore. Brian Daboll. I'd fire him. On the bright side, let's talk about Caleb Williams for a little bit. We could have conceivably opened with this topic, honestly, but we only talk about NFL stuff. Let's talk about Caleb Williams to the 2 people still listening, one of which will be you editing. Probably not going to be me re-listening, but...
Say what you want to say.
You've got a quarterback who, let's say he's emotional. Let's say he likes talking shit, which he does. He got the little fingernail stuff saying F whatever team he's playing. He's emotional after the games. He's cocky, talking about, oh, I had a bad game. There's still no one better than me after a loss. What do you think is going to happen when you take that quarterback, put him behind the Giants' offensive line, with these Walmart great value receivers in the biggest media market in the world, with reporters who are notorious for being hard-nosed and difficult to work with and hypercritical? What will happen to Caleb Williams?
He is going to thrive. That's what's going to happen.
Thrive.
Whether it be Caleb Williams, Drake May, I almost hope the Giants have the second overall pick so they don't need to decide for themselves which one they're going to take, because that would be my worst nightmare. Let's say they have the first overall pick and they pick Drake May, and then Caleb Williams is picked second, and then in the first year Drake May is horrible, and then Caleb Williams is succeeding.
Any quarterback you put in that Giants system, particularly a young quarterback, is going to be horrible.
You're just a hater. But let's just say that
you just ranted for 10 minutes about how everything is wrong with New York and saying, oh, well, actually, you're just a hater.
It comes down more to the roster than at coaching at this point. And I don't take anything from the rest of the season because, like we said, Danny DeVito's starting a quarterback for them. I know you love to hate on Jalen Hyatt, but he has shown flashes in what is a mess of an offense with what they have. But when you have Andrew Thomas hurt, he's the best player on your offensive line. Your center who you drafted, who may be the second best player on the offensive line, has missed a significant amount of games. The best player on your offense, that's a skill position, Saquon Barkley, has missed a significant amount of games. And your receiver core, to begin with, has been all that great. And the tight end you traded a third-round pick
You've
for.
already said all this stuff. Get to
I
the
know.
point.
Point being, I don't know how much more you expect from a coach given this situation.
Who's talking about Daboll? I'm talking about putting a young quarterback in that situation. Danny at least had a few off seasons with him. If you put Drake May, if you put Michael Penix, Bo Nix isn't a young quarterback, but if you put someone like that in that system, they are going to fail. And no quarterback is built less to equip that failure right now than Caleb Williams.
There's a lot can change in 12 months.
What's going to change? They fire
10 months,
everybody?
whatever it is.
They sell the team. They
No.
change their name to the New Jersey Giants.
Joe Shane is going to turn that roster around in one offseason. It's going to happen.
They single off.
Feel free to clip this and save it for, a year from now.
Ain't nobody watching this.
I'm talking to you.